Our lesson for today is about freedom of the human person. Here are the goals of today's discussion. You should be able to, first, explain the meaning of prudence and its importance in making choices. Second, identify the different kinds of freedom. Third, distinguish the essence of true freedom in making choices. And fourth, realize that all choices and actions have consequences. Before we formally start our today's discussion, let's try the activity on the screen. Get a piece of paper and try to answer the questions. Keep your answer within yourself and let's see if you had the correct answer after the discussion. Number 1. This is the ability to make choices and perform actions and is the intrinsic and essential property of the human person. A. Cleverness. B. Discretion. C. Freedom. Or D. Responsibility. Number 2. This is freedom of choice. A. Moral freedom. B. Physical freedom. C. Psychological freedom. Or D. Spiritual freedom. Number 3. This is the ability to act out of one's free will and self-determination. A. Consequence. B. Freedom. C. Prudence. Or D. Voluntariness. Number 4. This refers to the person being accountable for his actions and their consequences. A. Choice. B. Consequence. C. Freedom. Or D. Responsibility. And for our last question, number 5, it is the careful judgment to avoid danger or risk when making choices or decisions. A. Freedom. B. Prudence. C. Responsibility. Or D. Voluntariness. Again, just keep your answers within yourself. You will know whether you had the correct or incorrect answers after our discussion today. Let us now explore and discover important learnings today. Are you ready? Let me ask you these questions. What does freedom mean to you? Do you use your freedom responsibly? How do you practice prudence in making decisions? How can your freedom affect or influence the freedom of others? After this meeting, I hope that you will have a clearer view of the concept of freedom and will be able to internalize its significance, as well as understand why it's important to use it responsibly. Also, may this lesson encourage you to practice prudence in decision-making in your everyday life. Freedom is an intrinsic and essential property of a person. An important indication of human freedom is the ability to make choices and perform actions. Our freedom to act sets us apart from other beings. The human person does not experience the world in the same way that animals do. Animals act instinctively, meaning their actions are more like predetermined responses to certain stimuli. A person, on the other hand, can choose the course of action to take when given a stimulus or faced with certain situation. At home, your mother constantly tells you to clean your room, and you follow as she said. However, in the next days, you may decide not to clean your room because you feel lazy. On some other days, you may decide to clean your room even without being told. These varied actions indicate that you are exercising your freedom. This example is called voluntariness, which is the ability of a person to act his free will and self-determination, and which can be assigned a corresponding moral value. Freedom is rooted in the human person's self-determination and the exercise of intellect and free will. This means that a person's every action is freely determined, and these actions define him or her. You can freely choose to be a good person and to act in a good way. A good act makes a person better, while its opposite harms you as a person. This is the nature of self-determination, that a person's actions determine what kind of person he becomes. Human beings have the right to choose for themselves, but choose to always do what is good and right. Figure 2 gives you some acts to choose from in life. Freedom also requires a degree of control from the person who exercises it. A person becomes freer when he exercises control over himself. On the other hand, a person becomes less free when he is no longer in control of himself and is instead controlled by other forces. For example, people who act solely based on their emotions are also less free because they are overpowered by their feelings without any regard for ethical considerations. People who behave impulsively and erratically are more similar to animals than persons. We must act according to our nature as human beings. To lose control of oneself diminishes human freedom and dehumanizes the person. See Figure 3. There is a belief that the more freedom we are allowed, the more likely we are to take advantage of that freedom. Yet, people who have many freedoms can still feel trapped, stuck, or slaves to their habitual responses. There are three kinds of freedom. Number 1, physical freedom. It refers to the absence of any physical restraint. It is the literal freedom of action, to move about, to speak, to do things, to work, to act on the physical world. The person has the freedom of mobility to go where he wants to go. Physical freedom allows him to act and move in a determined manner. You cannot be everywhere at once, but your freedom allows you to move from one place to another. Number 2, psychological freedom. It is also called freedom of choice. The person is free to perform actions that he considers right and wise. He is free to act or not to act. Psychological freedom is innate and cannot be denied in a person. Psychological freedom is freedom from attachment. No outside force or influence can compel a person to act against his will. Number 3 is moral freedom. This refers to using freedom in a manner that upholds human dignity and goodness. Freedom is not an object that a person may use in whatever way he pleases. A person must use his freedom to grow as a person. A person becomes freer when he uses freedom well, but becomes less free when he uses it in a bad way. You have a natural inclination for what is true and good, and when you use your freedom to violate human dignity and goodness, you dehumanize yourself and negate human freedom. Reflecting upon your actions will enable you to know yourself better as a person. Your actions also determine if you uphold human dignity and freedom. Having freedom, however, also entails certain responsibilities. A person can diminish or negate freedom through the choices and actions that he makes. Whenever we decide to act, this results in a certain consequence. All human actions have consequences, but in general, you have to be prudent in making morally discerning choices. Prudence is careful judgment to avoid danger or risk. It guides us to make good choices and commands the other virtues to help us achieve the best action possible at each moment. A person may choose to act or not to act. It is in his free will and determination to decide, and that is voluntariness. As a free being, the person must accept the consequences of his action and take responsibility for them. When we say responsibility, it refers to being accountable for his actions and their consequences. Taking responsibility can either mean a person voluntarily taking responsibility for his actions or being held responsible by other people. Voluntariness and responsibility go together in determining a person's freedom. In any situation, when a person is forced to act against his will, it follows that he cannot be held responsible for his involuntary actions. Human freedom should be exercised with control and a recognition of reasonable limits. Examples: you may choose not to enter the cab despite being first in line to give way to an elderly woman. You may be angry about corruption in the government, but you do not go to the streets to engage in angry protests. You will choose to vote for better candidates instead of candidates that you like or find attractive. To have a deeper understanding of what freedom is, just keep the pace running by doing the following activities. Let's practice. Read the following situations and identify each whether it exemplifies A. Physical, B. Psychological, or C. Moral freedom. Write the corresponding letter of your answer on your paper. Number 1. The people can live where they choose, follow whatever career they wish, buy, sell, and trade without restriction, read and write what they like. A. Physical freedom, B. Psychological freedom, C. Moral freedom. What do you think is the right answer? If you think that the answer is letter A, you got it right. Number 2. Free from compulsively protecting your ego, self-esteem, and pride. A. Physical freedom, B. Psychological freedom, or C. Moral freedom. What do you think is the right answer? If you answered letter B, that is the correct answer. Number 3. Learning how to manage your emotions by managing your attention. A. Physical freedom, B. Psychological freedom, or C. Moral freedom. The correct answer is letter C. Moral freedom. Number 4. It is the responsible use of the freedom that upholds human dignity and goodness. A. Physical freedom, B. Psychological freedom, or C. Moral freedom. What is your answer? The correct answer is letter C. Congratulations! And for the last question for Let's Practice, number 5, no outside force or influence can compel a person to act against his will. What do you think? Is it under A. Physical freedom, B. Psychological freedom, or C. Moral freedom? If you answered letter B, you got the correct answer. Congratulations! You finished Let's Practice part very well. And now, let us proceed to Let's Do More part of our lesson. Here is your activity for Let's Do More part. Reflect on your past experiences and identify a moment when you believed you had no choice regarding your actions or decisions, or you made a choice that you eventually regretted. Reevaluate that situation using the various views on human freedom. Did you make the right decision? Write your answer on your paper. Congratulations! You're done with the Let's Do More part. And now, you are about to check your answers a while ago. Are you excited and ready? Answer the following questions. Number 1. This is the ability to make choices and perform actions and is intrinsic and essential property of the human person. A. Cleverness. B. Discretion. C. Freedom. Or D. Responsibility. So what was your answer a while ago? If you answered letter C, that is the correct answer. Number 2. This is freedom from any physical restraint. Is it A. Moral freedom, B. Physical freedom, C. Psychological freedom, or D. Spiritual freedom? What do you think is the right answer? The correct answer is it's letter B. Congratulations, you got the correct answer. Number 3 question. This is freedom of choice. A. Moral freedom, B. Physical freedom, C. Psychological freedom, or D. Spiritual freedom? What was your answer? The correct answer is, you got it right. The correct answer is letter C. Psychological freedom. Number 4. This is the ability to act out of one's free will and self-determination. Is it A. Consequence, B. Freedom, C. Prudence, or D. Voluntariness? What do you think is the correct answer? The correct answer is, it's letter D. Voluntariness. Number 5 question. This refers to the person being accountable for his actions and their consequences. A. Choice, B. Consequence, C. Freedom, or D. Responsibility? What do you think is the correct answer? If you answered letter D, that is the correct answer. Number 6. It is the careful judgment to avoid danger or risk when making choices or decisions. A. Freedom, B. Prudence, C. Responsibility, or D. Voluntariness? What is your answer for question number 6? If you answered letter B, you got the correct answer. Congratulations! And now, let us proceed to test 2. For test 2, you have to put a check beside the number of the statement which shows responsible use of freedom. And write X if does not show responsible use of freedom. Number 7. Instead of spending her excess allowance on a new pair of shoes, Rhea decides to open a bank account and start saving up for her college. What do you think? Is it check or X? The correct answer for number 7 is yes, you got it right. The correct answer is check. Number 8. Despite the threats made on his life, the witness decided to come forward and divulge important information regarding the crime he witnessed. What do you think is that? Is that check or X? The correct answer is check. Congratulations! Number 9. A woman used the internet to humiliate a person by spreading fake news on social media. Yes, it's X. And last number 10. Despite knowing that many of his clients were poor and desperate, a moneylender continues to impose very high interest rates on loans. What do you think is the answer? The correct answer, yes, you got it right. The correct answer is X. Congratulations! I know that most of you got the correct answer for our assessment today. And now, let us proceed to your assignment. In the table below, summarize your ideas on freedom by completing it. In the first column, you have to write, I am free because. In the second column, you have to write, as a free person, I must. Okay, so I hope it's clear. Get ready to share your answers in the next session. Thank you and see you again next meeting.